I, 31F, have 3 siblings, 40M, 38F, 27M, and we have a good relationship despite the age gaps between some of us. My older siblings are both married and so am I. The wedding in question is my younger brother's. My younger brother Luke is engaged to his GF of a year Emma, 28F. She is nice I guess, but we have never really clicked and are just polite to each other. Something important is that we are all Catholic, but not really hardcore ones, and some of us are even lapsed. I do believe this whole situation started just when I met her for the first time. I look younger than Luke and it has always been a sibling joke that I am truly the baby of the family. Most people that meet us assume he is older than me, but nobody has had issues with it until Emma. The day I met her she kind of scoffed when I said I was happy the baby had a proper girlfriend. She has this weird thing about being the eldest in her family and refused to believe I was older than her until I showed her my ID. She has been hot and cold with me since then, often infantilizing me or trying to have a sort of boss attitude. I just let her be and usually ignore her since I have no time to try and beg for her friendship, so I am just polite and civil, always include her when planning stuff but don't really make an effort. The family knows about it, but we just shrugged it to different personalities. Then the wedding planning started. Emma decided I could not be in the wedding party since I was not married in a church, fine by me. Then she requested that immediate family submits their dress planning so she could check it fits the wedding dress code, fine whatever. You see where this is going I hope? You'll see I have not gone to confession or have communion in more than a decade. If I go to a mass for whatever reason I am respectful and simply sit or stay standing during the rites I don't participate on. Well, this is not good enough for her and she says I need to take communion during their wedding. I said no and she has not taken it well. For the most part I avoid her as I said before, but this time I wasn't gonna say yes or risk an issue. I told her for taking communion one needs to go to confession and I didn't want to. She said all immediate family is doing it and it will look bad if I don't. I told her sure fine, then I'll just go have communion in front of everybody but won't do confession. She said if this was gonna be my attitude I was uninvited from the wedding because I clearly wanted to ruin the day for her. I turned to my brother and told him, thanks, gave him a thumbs up and went home. My family understand my reasoning and said they respect everybody's choices, but I shouldn't have said what I said. I told them I really don't want to go to the wedding anymore and I don't owe Emma explanations on my life. I only called my grandma because she heard what happened and asked me not to disrespect the church by doing the communion without confession. I promised I wouldn't do it and she is fine with me now. I got a text from my brother wanting to compromise, so I replied by asking if the other lapsed people are being made to take confession too? He said no because it was only nuclear family members. I find it funny since all the others are clearly older than her and she just behaves like this with me and the youngsters. Ada? Comments where Op has replied, lucky effective 1564, NTA who died and made Emma Pope? Oop, lol, I will share this particular one with my grandma next time we talk. She is gonna love it. Beautiful report 58, you should alert the priest to her behavior. He will ensure that she stops with her actions. She cannot make rules that do not exist in the church. I would send a quick email to him and let her deal with the consequences of her own actions. Oop, I actually considered it, but I don't think I will since my grandma might be doing it herself. She has lapsed herself but didn't want me to be disrespectful, but she knows the priest that will be officiating and is not really happy with all the shit show. Update 1, October 26, 2024. Things have moved, but I wouldn't call any of this a positive progress. I would like to clear something I kept seeing in the comments. I won't request a special blessing or go in the queue for communion. It isn't about the blessing or the compromise but the singling me out. I often just stay quiet or take a general family blessing if we go to weddings, etc. I have no issue with compromises. I have an issue with Emma and her ridiculousness. I don't know why she has this thing with me. I do look young but not like a teen or a child obviously. She has 2 younger sisters and is very authoritative with them. I have witnesses her being very my way or the highway with younger people, so she has issues for sure. The confrontation from the last post was on Tuesday and today we had lunch at my grandma's. I think you should also know that my brothers have a tricky relationship, as in they are not as close with each other as they are with other siblings. My older brother Robert is very no nonsense and he has never been a fan of Emma, but he didn't think he should have to intervene because Luke is an adult and capable of navigating relationships. All this is gonna be relevant, I promise. We visit grandma a lot since she lives by herself and we truly enjoy her company. Today we were all there because she is over this drama already. After a lunch, that was more like snacking to be honest, she asked us all to clear the air. Emma continued with her rant about me being a disrespectful person and that she was asking the bare minimum from me. My grandma asked her why she had no issue with her not taking communion and Emma said that she was her elder and for sure her reasons were more than a tantrum like it was in my case. She also repeated that she was asking this of all the siblings and I was the only one that was being difficult with her tiny request. This is where everything crumbled for her. I mentioned in the comments that Robert is also lapsed and he was already exhausted by this situation. He asked her why she had no issues with him not taking communion and she looked like a kid that was caught. She didn't have a proper answer. Robert then asked her if she even knew why he and Grandma became lapsed. She shook her head and looked at Luke for help. Luke on the other hand was staring angrily at Robert and I but said nothing. Robert explained to Emma he was the reason Grandma became lapsed. When Robert was a teen he came out as gay and was so worried about our grandparents' reaction since they were very active in the Catholic Church. Grandma felt awful about it and even worse when she went and spoke about this with the then priest of her church. That priest was super old school and told her that Robert was committing sins, he was going to hell, he needed to find his way, the whole 9 yards. Grandma didn't take that so well and simply stopped going to church and started spending that time with her grandchildren. Over the years she started getting into the whole community again but she decided she was done taking the sacraments. She respects parts of the church but can't fully reconcile with it. Emma was a bit confused since Robert is married to a woman and he explained he is bisexual and ended up with a woman just as he could have ended with a man. He also commented they are not married in the church but that didn't matter to her like it mattered when it came to me. He asked her directly what was her problem with me. Long story short, she said I was rude since the beginning and kept treating Luke wrong. Oh, and I also was very snarky about looking younger than her. Crickets. She is a beautiful successful woman so I still don't understand her obsession but it seems like she wants people to see I respect her and what she says. I just started laughing. She started crying and saying I turned my grandma against her. My grandma told her to stop blaming people for her being a negative person and she was always going to side with me over her. Luke got upset at that and asked her why she was not supporting him and she simply said she doesn't support him being a lapdog for a crazy woman. More was said, nothing got truly resolved. I was kind of invited again but declined going. Grandma is undecided if she even wants to go at all. My older siblings told Luke they will go to the ceremony if he seeks couples therapy or at least therapy. My parents are having headaches and now dislike Emma so much they can't hide it. Oh. And yes, Grandma spoke with the priest and he wants them to do extra premarital counseling or he won't officiate. I hope they don't get married but he is old enough to derail his life if he wants. I thank you for letting me vent and my grandma loved the Pope joke. Comment where Op has replied, K_A_irony, LOL, well I hope for your brother's sake that the extra premarital counseling results in him rethinking his plan to marry Ms. Entitled and Controlling. Good luck to you. Tripwire 48, what's ironic is that the Catholic Church has a mandatory course or consultation called pre-Cana that couples must complete before marrying in the Catholic Church. The course helps couples prepare for the sacrament of marriage by reflecting on the spiritual, emotional, and practical aspects of marriage. The priest or deacon also weighs in on the compatibility of the couple, at least those I know who went through it had that happen. I think it varies by diocese, but I know my cousin's was 6 months long. Update 2, October 28, 2024. My brother has gone too far and I decided to be done with him. He made our grandma cry and I think permanently damaged a lot of his relationships. I want to mention some of my cousins and other family members thought I was just stubborn and creating drama but now there is no longer my side or Emma's side. Maybe he always felt this way but the issue he has with Robert is absolutely ridiculous. He was so upset with what Grandma said about him being Emma's lapdog that he called her to speak about it. I was obviously not present for the conversation but Grandma told me what happened and Luke confirmed it. He told her that it was unfair of me to ask Robert for help since he was her favorite grandchild and would get her to side with me no matter how wrong I was. He also told her that many of the cousins believed this and that it was so obvious since she even left her religion for him. He claimed the other LGBTQ+ members of the family, most were not even born when Robert came out by the way, doubted if she would do it for them. So Grandma explained to Luke and then call every single one of her grandchildren to ask them how they felt and explain to each a part we didn't know. She said that when Robert came out and she spoke with the old priest he hinted about knowing of places to set Robert straight. Grandma had heard horror stories from these places and so had Robert and they both spoke with my parents together about that not being an option at all. My parents never intended to send Robert there and are very casual Catholics, but Grandma wanted to cover the bases just in case. I was told Grandma sounded like she had been crying on the phone and after the first couple of calls, which went from oldest to youngest the group chat started to blow. Robert is livid, our LGBTQ+ cousins are livid and say Luke lied, even the cousins that were telling me to stop being a stubborn head are livid. By the time I was up for my call I was already on the way to Grandma's. 2 of my cousins were already there and the youngest one, Sarah, 16F, was ready to literally fight Luke. For a bit of levity, Sarah is about 35 centimeters smaller than Luke, and the image of her swinging at him made me laugh a bit. She asked if I was making fun of her, and I just explained the whole mental image of her trying to hit him, and she admitted it was kind of funny. What I didn't tell her is I would love to slap some sense into Luke. My grandma has been through so much in her life, and this is not what we want for her. She looks puffy-faced and kept asking everybody if they truly felt unloved by her, saying she would do everything for any of us. Explaining how Robert was the oldest grandchild, but that didn't mean she loved the rest any less. She is a strong woman, but I think something inside her broke a little with the thought she hurt her grandchildren. It was a shit show, a big one, and I was just so done with Luke. My parents have been passive towards the situation so far because I asked them to, but after they heard what happened they told him they need time away from him. Robert is simply disgusted and decided to not speak with him anymore, which he communicated through the cousin group chat, with Luke's response being that this is why Emma's help on reining all us would be so beneficial if we just let her. He also added how Robert never cared for him or anybody really, and he just tried to be the center of attention all the time. He cited his coming out, his announcement he was going to marry a woman, the birth of his child. It was ridiculous. He came out when Luke was a toddler, and for many years only our parents and grandparents knew. He announced he was going to marry his now wife through a text, but didn't interfere or took from anybody. His child was born 4 months before Luke's graduation, and apparently that was a big issue for Luke that he never commented. Maybe I am biased. Maybe I am selfish like Emma claims, but I call bullshit on his tantrum. Every single one of the cousins has been helped, babysat, tutored, gotten out of trouble, you name it, by Robert. He isn't perfect, but he isn't the conniving ass Luke is claiming. Maybe Luke has always felt inadequate and we didn't notice. Maybe it was his last-ditch effort. Maybe Emma has manipulated him so far that he can't come back. It doesn't matter anymore. If he does marry Emma, I wish him the best. If he doesn't, I hope he goes to therapy. Regardless of what he decides, he burned so many bridges and hurt so many people. I don't see this resolving anytime soon. For now I will focus on my grandma and making her feel better. I feel extremely guilty because it was Emma's situation with me that opened this can of worms. I know I shouldn't, but it's hard not to. Comments where Op has replied, LizardGirl25, wow, it sounds like it is self-projection from Luke. He is the conniving asshole he is saying Robert is. Edit, Internet Stranger here also sends hugs to your grandma and your family in general. Oop. Robert is the type of older cousin Sarah would call if she is drunk at a party and needs a safe ride. He also did it for Luke, which is why I don't get his deal. Ghost 3022, irrational behavior is called that because it can't be rationalized. Luke is exhibiting very irrational behavior, which is why you'll never understand it. The best you can hope for is that he gets some serious therapy and pulls his head out of his ass sooner rather than later. Oop, if he asked for help and apologized sincerely, I would be there in 2 seconds. He knew what he was doing when he spoke without grandma. He knew it would cause her pain. He knew he would hurt Robert too. Robert might not be crying, but he feels bad about the situation. He has always looked out for everybody, and even has pics of him holding every single one of us as babies all over one of his walls. I always knew they were not the closest of brothers, but this is too much. Pride of Cape Town. Was this really Luke's inner feelings coming out, or is this Emma poisoning him into isolating himself from his family and support system? Either way, he's a gigantic asshole. You, your grandma and all your cousins should boycott this wedding. Oop. So far, nobody is going to his wedding. My parents are undecided about attending the ceremony, but they lean more on not attending. Update 3, November 4, 2024. I want to start this by saying that Grandma is in better spirits now. I am overwhelmed by the amount of people supporting her and very grateful for it, even if it's online. I have talked about this on some chats and DMs, but please know the situation with Emma is not about her being parentified or her family being strict Catholics, it's just her being her. They were already going to get premarital counseling, an extra was added. Oh, all cousins also don't live in the same city or town, some are a bit longer than others, but we keep in touch through the chat. The reason for the update is mainly to let people know Grandma is okay, her health is fine, and she had a blast with my cousin Sarah. I also want to update on what has happened with the cousins and the maternal side of our family. Some of our paternal cousins, from Grandma's side, have relented and feel a bit bad on excluding Luke from things, so the compromise was met on he can be invited to everything. Just don't force people to interact. These cousins are mainly on the older side and have soft spots for the youngsters. My youngest cousin, Sarah, said she was okay with it all, but she wanted them to keep him away from her since she can't stand him anymore. Our maternal side was a shit show, because of course we need one. Some of them were very upset, but others told me I should try to understand where he was coming from. My mom was the one that told them everything, and some told her she is at fault for making Robert the star of the family. This was so uncalled for, but brought some issues in my family, particularly when one of my maternal cousins asked me if I could behave enough if I am seated at the same table as Luke for his wedding. It makes us doubt ourselves, but really, This is a cousin that Robert has bailed from almost bankruptcy 2 times and he's the problem? I haven't said much about my sister Lucy since she voiced nothing different before. She was always very close to Luke and even had a great relationship with Emma before the debacle. She decided to be out of it because she was so disappointed. While she was never made to babysit or anything like that, she was always so into Luke since he was her baby brother. She loved him the most, and I know that because she literally told me when I was a kid. We have a good relationship now because her kids are my buddies, but it was rough for a while before that. She was upset about the whole thing, but when our maternal family, or at least a part, started excusing Luke, she lost it. She is a very calm person, the type you don't expect a bad word out of, but she lost it, and I think it was the last straw on the cold bucket for Luke. She sent a massive message about what has been happening, detailing every single thing, and daring people to kind of come at her if they disagreed. She made sure to include every single nasty thing, every bad word, every eye roll. She sent it to so many people because she was tired of the half-information telephone game. She is upset at me because my refusals made this happen, and she said she knows she shouldn't, but she needs time to fix her feelings, so she is not speaking with me right now. My parents decided they were out of the wedding and told Luke he is on his own. There was never a monetary issue. They were willing to contribute, but both Luke and Emma are pretty well off and was no need for that. Now to what maybe most people want to know, and the only conflict I am interested about anymore. My grandma is feeling better. Sarah being with her was very positive. It was lovely to see the eldest and youngest of our family so in tune, but then again they have always been. She requested that Sarah invited Luke to her birthday party, December, and after a lot of back and forth he is going to be invited. We will see if he comes or not. A small parenthesis, I showed my grandma the joke of the knife, sword, etc. She was so giddy. Thank you. I mentioned before that Robert would pick up Sarah if she needed. It is still true. What I might have not mentioned is that she of course gets a weird lecture from him, and an even weirder lecture on how he rates certain drugs. Lol, as I said, he is no saint, but he is not a shit either. Lastly, yes, he has photos even with my sister or me in the newborn wall. People love to take pics of him holding the new family members, and he collected them and put them together when he got his own house.